7 spine-chilling small-town horrors, 7 sinister secrets revealed, everyone knew. Except us. Laura Richards had no idea what awaited them in Maplewood. They had traded the frenetic pace of city life for quaint streets and welcoming smiles. But beneath the surface, shadows lurked close by. As she unwrapped the last of the boxes in their new home, the flickering lights overhead sent a chill down her spine. Objects started to go missing: utensils, books, even a beloved stuffed bear that seemed to vanish into thin air. It all felt wrong. Emily, her daughter, was the opposite. At 15, she was ecstatic to start fresh, make friends, and experience small-town charm. But as Laura watched her mingle at the local diner, chatting with familiar faces, she couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. Whispers surrounded them like fog, and laughter twisted into something sinister as they mingled. 7 secrets, Emily muttered under her breath one evening. No one else seemed to notice, but Emily's keen instincts picked up on it. Each secret tied to vanished families, tales that echoed in the quiet corners of the town. It gnawed at her curiosity. One sleepless night after a grueling shift, Laura stumbled across article after article tucked under the ceramic coffee pot in the diner's break room. Faded newspaper clippings chronicling disappearances spanning decades flashed before her eyes. Each name, each headline painted a darker picture of Maplewood than the one in her mind. Questions arose, but when Laura pressed the town's authorities, they laughed off her concerns. Their smiles felt more like masks than friendly gestures. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned to night, and the sensation of lurking dread hung in the air. One evening, while babysitting a neighbor's daughter, Emily felt the playful joy fade as the little girl's gaze drifted toward the window. Shadows twisted and turned beyond the glass, stretching their fingers toward them. When the girls suddenly vanished during a game of hide and seek, her absence sent Emily into a panic. The friendly faces, once comforting, now bore an unsettling weight of menace. "Stay calm," the sheriff said as he waved his hand dismissively, breathing a false sense of security. But Laura couldn't ignore the frantic cries echoing through the alley like a ghostly lament. Heart racing, she rushed into the depths of night, the air heavy with whispers. Every step felt like it pulled her deeper into a web of darkness that enveloped the town. The final piece clicked into place. Maplewood's residents weren't just neighbors, they were entwined in a chilling legacy that cut through the years. Each vanished child, each eerie smile was rooted in a history Laura could no longer ignore. As she grappled with horrifying truths, she could feel terror ripple through her. The facade of safety cracked as she fought to save her daughter. The past had returned to reclaim its victims who would emerge unscathed from the shadows. The town breathed ominously, every flicker of the street lamp echoing her dread. As darkness engulfed her and newfound terror gripped her heart, Laura questioned every face she once trusted. Would she discover the truth before it all unraveled? In the end, salvation might depend on unearthing the town's buried secrets before they swallowed her whole. The nights in Maplewood were thick with tension, silence amplifying the slightest sounds. Laura noticed it the moment her feet crossed the threshold of home. She could hear the distant echo of laughter from the children nearby, but it felt hollow. The world outside seemed alive, but inside, a creeping despair sprang to life, wrapping around her like an unwanted blanket. Emily's behavior shifted too. Her excitement faded, replaced with anxiety. The girl waxed poetic about visions of shadowy figures darting between trees, whispers trailing off into the moonlight. Laura brushed it off initially, attributing it to an active imagination thrust into a new, eerie environment. But one fateful night, as the house swallowed her in darkness, she caught Emily staring wide-eyed into the corner of her room, a look of terror frozen on her face. "Mom, do you see that? Emily's voice trembled. Laura strained her ears and felt the room close in. See what, honey? But there was nothing. Just the weight of the night pressing against the walls, taunting her sanity. She chalked it up to fatigue, telling Emily to get some sleep. But as she turned off the light, the sensation of icy fingers traced her spine, sending shivers through her body. Then came the day the news hit. In the diner, the conversation shifted. Laughter stuttered and froze as a familiar name surfaced, a child's name, little Clara Bellows. Just yesterday, Clara was running in the park, playing with her friends. Today, she was gone. The suffocating air filled with hushed murmurs. Every head turned, eyes wide, collective fear painting the room in panic. Laura felt the color drain from her own face, her stomach knotting. That S3 this month, someone whispered, barely audible. Her chest tightened. 3. No one had mentioned anything before. The whispers of their 7 secrets consumed her thoughts as she wrestled with the revelation. Maplewood was not just a quaint town, it was a haunted yardstick of disappearances. She left the diner, her heart racing, and went searching for Emily. In a panic, she rushed home. Emily! She called. The house echoed her voice back to her, silent and menacing. As she dashed through the door, Laura's breath hitched. Emily stood in the living room, perfectly still, her back turned. Emily, are you okay? The girl didn't respond. Her hair fell like a curtain, concealing her face. The ominous shadow from the window crept above her. Laura felt a shiver of dread claw at her. Taking a few steps forward, she reached out, gently grabbing Emily's shoulder and turning her around. The vacant stare in Emily's eyes was chilling, not the kind that belonged to her loving daughter. They're here for us, Mom, Emily said, her voice hollow, echoing words that felt ripped from a nightmare. Laura's heart raced as she cradled her daughter's face, forcing her to meet her gaze. What do you mean? Who's here? But before Emily could respond, the lights flickered violently overhead. A deafening crash reverberated through the house, drowning out her words. The door slammed shut, trapping them inside. Mom! Emily screamed. Laura clung to her daughter, paralyzed by fear as a shadow flickered behind them, twisting and merging with the darkness enveloping them. In that moment, they knew they weren't alone. The town had secrets, and some were desperate to be unearthed. What would happen next? Would the whispers finally speak their truth, or would they be silenced forever? As her heartbeat thundered in her ears, she grasped Emily's hand tightly. Deep down, they knew the next secret was about to be revealed. Laura's breath quickened. The walls felt tighter, shadows danced mockingly just beyond reach. She couldn't let go of Emily, couldn't abandon her to whatever horror had invaded their home. But the atmosphere thickened, the room felt like it was pulsing, alive with malevolence. Who's here? She demanded again, her voice quaking. The flickering lights cast ghostly shapes around them, each shimmer hinting at the lurking dread. The air grew colder, wrapping around them like a vice. They're waiting. Emily's eyes reflected fear, large, deep pools of distress that seemed to swallow light. They know about us. Laura's grip tightened on Emily's hand. We need to get out, honey. But where could they go? The doors were locked, the windows sealed by an unseen force. Outside, the laughter of children that just moments ago seemed so innocent now morphed into a grim reminder of Clara. Her heart raced, dread pinching at her insides. It could easily be them next. Just then, the shadows in the corner of the room began to shift, forming shapes that almost resembled bodies. Laura's eyes darted to the darkened corner where Emily had previously gazed. One shape seemed to step forward, its outline sharper than the rest. A chill ran through her as it took on a more human form, a small child, hair tousled, a ripped dress fluttering in the unseen breeze. Help me, help us, the child's voice whispered, soft but insistent. Laura felt her throat constrict, wrapped tight with panic. Emily, don't listen. She tried to pull Emily back, but the girl remained rooted, mesmerized by the spectral child. They take them all, the child continued, face twisted in a sorrowful plea. But you can help us, don't be afraid. I don't want to help. Laura shouted, shaking Emily slightly, desperate to pull her from the edge of whatever dark fascination held her. But it was too late. Emily leaned closer, drawn in by the voice as if enchanted. A cacophony of whispers suddenly filled the room, echoing through the walls, voices mixed with laughter, panic, and cries for help. They're coming, they want the girl. No, no, no. Laura screamed. She grabbed at Emily, yanking her back just in time to notice the shadows coiling tighter around them, closing in, eager for their catch. Mom, we have to. Emily insisted, her own resolve hardening, as if possessed. Clara needs us. It was like stepping onto a precipice. Laura's instinct screamed at her to run, to escape. But she also felt the heaviness of obligation, of something larger. We can't trust them. We can't. The air crackled, a surge of energy pulsating through the room. The furniture rocked softly, timbers creaking under unseen weight. Dark shapes whirled faster, their whispers escalating into a sinister harmony. Suddenly, the child figure lunged toward them, the air around it shimmering like a mirage. You have to join us. It shrilled. The force from the entity crackled outward, throwing Laura and Emily to the ground. The lights burst out in one final explosion, plunging them into darkness. Laura's heart pounded in her ears, her body trembling. When the light flickered back, the room was empty. The child gone. The shadows, too. Just silence. Emily lay on the floor, breathing heavily, confusion etched on her young face. What just happened? We're still in Maplewood. But I think. Footsteps echoed outside, heavier than before, a rhythmic thump that sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through her. Someone or something was coming for them. Mom, are they coming to take me? Emily's voice was small and fragile, barely a whisper. Laura pulled her close, feeling the chill linger as dread tightened its grip. We need to find out what they want, honey. But first, we have to hide. We can't stay here. As they crept toward the back of the house, Laura couldn't shake the feeling that they were entangled in something far more sinister. What if the whispers weren't just warnings, but invitations? What would finding out the truth mean for them? The stakes were rising, and time was running out. Outside, the laughter faded into something far darker, a macabre serenade that promised no escape. With hurried breaths, Laura and Emily squeezed into the cramped space beneath the staircase, shadows closing around them like a shroud. The air felt heavier here, alive with the weight of ghostly secrets. Emily's small hand gripped her mother's tightly, her eyes wide with fear. Mom, what's happening? She whispered, barely audible. I don't know, honey. Just stay quiet. Laura's own voice felt lost in the fluttering heartbeat in her throat. She had to hold it together. Whatever awaited them outside this dim sanctuary, they needed to be strong. The footsteps had stopped just outside the door, but echoing whispers filled the silence, a chorus of disembodied voices, murmuring like a chant just beyond the threshold. They're waiting, they're coming, they want the girl. Each phrase coiled around Laura's mind, tightening as if trying to suffocate her thoughts. Who were they? Suddenly, a heavy thud resonated through the floor, causing Emily to flinch. A knot of anxiety grew in Laura's stomach, and she could sense the darkness beyond the door, feeling it pulsing like a heartbeat, rhythmic and insistent. It was only a matter of time before it found them. Mom. Emily's voice quivered. Are we going to die? Shoo. Laura cupped her daughter's face, forcing eye contact. We are not giving up. I promise I won't let anything happen to you. As they huddled deeper into the shadows, Laura felt the chill seep into her bones, every minute dragging like an eternity. Something stirred beyond the door, the old wood creaked ominously, as if a presence was testing its strength. She closed her eyes, concentrating, trying to shut out the coldness creeping through her core. Then came a sound that froze her blood, a soft, guttering laugh. It wasn't the innocent laugh of children that had once filled Maplewood with joy. No, this was different. It was twisted, laced with malice. "Join us, come play." The voice seemed to slither right into her ears, resonating within her thoughts. Laura shivered. "No." She snapped, the word out of her mouth before she could stop it. Her heart raced as the laughter paused, then erupted into raucous delight, echoing with a sickening sense of joy. "Mom!" Emily trembled next to her, her little body tight with fear. "What do we do?" In an instant, Laura's mind raced with ways to escape. She could lead Emily up to the attic, a place steeped in dark memories. Could the stories their neighbors told about the cursed past of the old house contain answers? But as she began to uncoil from their hiding spot, a howl erupted from outside, a miserable sound that sent tremors through the walls. Like a floodgate bursting, shadows flooded into the room, slinking and twisting with dark tendrils. The heady mix of panic and adrenaline pulsed through her veins as she grabbed Emily's hand. "We're going," Laura commanded, urgency clawing at her throat. "No. Mom." Emily tugged back toward the corner. "They're here." Before she could respond, the door burst open with an otherworldly screech. A figure stepped inside, an amalgam of shadow and tattered limbs. Its gaze was piercing, pinning Laura and Emily in place. "You can't escape," it whispered, voice gravelly with age and despair. "You belong to us now." The world around them spun, and instinctively, Laura shielded Emily, wrapping her arms around the child, keeping her shielded from the dark entity. In a blink, the shadows lunged, reaching, grabbing for both of them. They yanked and tumbled until they were swallowed by darkness once more. But before she lost consciousness, one thought screamed through her: where had Clara gone? And just like that, the darkness echoed once again: "You will learn, you must learn." When Laura opened her eyes, the shadows had receded, but in the uncertain silence, a new horror awaited her, her own reflection staring back from the glass of a broken mirror. The young girl she barely recognized pointed, lips moving soundlessly, trapped behind the invisible barrier that separated their worlds. "What are you trying to tell me?" Laura gasped, fighting the panic. The air buzzed, filled with unseen possibilities, but she felt the weight of dread settling in once more. Somewhere in the distance, the sinister laughter began anew, and Laura realized the game was far from over. Would she be able to uncover the truth before it consumed them? Or would they fall prey to the things lurking just beyond the light? The mirror's cracked surface glimmered ominously in the dim light, revealing fragments of what felt like another world. Laura's heart raced as she leaned closer, entranced by the otherness of her reflection. The girl, her younger self, moved with a jarring detachment, urgency etched across her face. Laura felt the air grow heavier, time slipped like sand through her fingers. "Clara!" she screamed, desperation carving her voice. But the girl in the mirror merely pointed, insistently, directing Laura's gaze as if trying to convey a vital message lost to the void. For a moment, everything clicked. Clara, her sister, the missing thread in this tapestry of dread. But before the thought could settle, the laughter crescendoed, echoing through the hallway, drawing nearer like a harbinger of doom. The reflection twisted her mouth into a silent scream, and Laura stumbled back, dragging Emily with her. "We have to go." But where? The shadows lingered at the edges, hungry and expectant. Again, she thought of the attic. Perhaps it held the answers, a beacon in the thickening fog of fear. "Stay close," Laura snapped, guiding Emily toward the rickety staircase that spiraled up into darkness. Each step creaked under their weight, as if the house itself was biding its time, holding its breath, waiting for them to tumble into a trap. At the top, the attic door loomed, a foreboding slab of wood, marked by age and neglect. Laura hesitated, hand hovering over the doorknob. The laughter, insidious and mocking, dripped like poison into her ears. "Mom, what if it's worse up there?" Emily's voice wavered, pulling at Laura's resolve. "We'll never know if we don't face it." With a deep breath, Laura turned the knob, every nerve alive with fear. The door creaked open, revealing a dark expanse, cobwebs draped like ghosts in corners, forgotten relics of the past cluttering every inch. It smelled of damp and decay, a world trapped in time. As they stepped in, the shadows shifted. Something breathed, an ancient presence stirring to life among the dust. A sudden chill swept through the room, a whisper like silk brushing past Laura's ear. "Find the others." The words hung in the air, chilling and urgent. "The others?" Laura whispered to herself, glancing around. "Who? What do you mean?" Emily clutched her mother's hand tighter, eyes wide as saucers, reflecting the flickering light of the single bulb swinging from the ceiling. Something was wrong with the texture of the space, the corners seemed to wriggle, blurring reality and dream. Then, a shape emerged from the shadows, a small, doll-like figure, its gaze cold and penetrating. The face was familiar, too familiar. Laura's breath hitched. It was Clara, or rather a twisted version of her, eyes dark pools of malice. "Did you forget me, Laura?" It crooned, voice eerily echoing through the room. "We were meant to be together forever." Laura instinctively stepped back, pulling Emily with her, an overwhelming sense of dread settling like lead in her stomach. "No. You're not my sister. You're not real." Laughter erupted, jagged and sharp, as more shadows gathered, the room thickening with their oppressive weight. "Will the girl come to play?" They taunted, their voices overlapping, blending into a cacophony of sinister delight. "Mom!" Emily shrieked, panic clawing at her small frame. "Stay close!" Laura shouted back, trying to hold her ground. Heart racing, she scanned the room. There had to be something, some way to break through this nightmare. Just then, the floorboards creaked ominously beneath them, as if the house itself was alive, eager for the sacrifice. And then, right against the far wall, an old chest nearly hidden beneath a broken shutter caught her eye. Could it hold answers, or was it another cruel joke? "Emily, stay!" Laura whispered fiercely, inching toward the chest, her heart pounding in time with the laughter surrounding them. The shadows shifted, growing restless. Their voices rose like a swarm. "You should be stayed hidden." Laura's fingers trembled as she reached for the latch. Could this trap be a way out or a descent into madness? As she cracked it open, the laughter stilled, drawing breath. Inside lay a delicate, tattered scrapbook bursting with faded photographs and secrets. What if it framed the truth, or chained them to their darkest fears? Before she could decipher the contents, the door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into pitch-black darkness. "Mom, what is happening?" Emily whimpered, her fear a tangible pulse in the cold air. The laughter surged anew, cruel and reverberating. Laura felt the shadows thicken around them, breathing heavily, hungry, and patient. Everything depended on what lay within that chest and if they could decode the truth before it consumed them for good. What revelation awaited inside? Would it set them free or seal their fate? A bone-chilling silence enveloped Laura and Emily, the darkness pressing in like a living entity. The chest felt impossibly heavy in Laura's hands, as if it contained not only memories but nightmares waiting to be unleashed. She fought against the urge to flee, grappling with the tight knot of terror coiling in her stomach. "Mom, I can't see." Emily's voice was small, shaking. "Just hold on to me," Laura whispered, gritting her teeth against the growing dread. The oppressive weight of the shadows felt alive, pulsing with malicious intent. She took a deep breath and turned her attention back to the scrapbook. The fading light flickered, slashing through the darkness like a knife, illuminating the top page. The image was familiar, a faded birthday party photo, with Clara beaming on her 5th birthday. But something was off. The other faces were twisted, their smiles grotesque, stretching beyond what's natural. They wore masks of porcelain, lifeless and leering, trapped in a moment of joy that felt wrong. "Mom, I don't like this," Emily whimpered again, her fear mounting with every heartbeat. Laura's heart pounded as she flipped through the pages, clenching her jaw. Each photograph was steeped in shadows and sorrow, moments that felt hauntingly familiar yet disturbingly alien. Every time she glanced at Clara, the girl in the picture beckoned her closer, pleading for help. Or was it a trap, deepening the deception? The laughter, now a whispering chant, crescendoed once more, mocking. "You took too long to find us." "Who are us?" Laura shouted, her voice shaky yet bold, demanding answers from the shadows. A heavy pause, and then the chest began to vibrate, as if it had a heartbeat. One that resonated with her own, syncing with the rhythm of her mounting panic. She had to discover what lay within these pages. Maybe it would give them a fighting chance, or maybe it would drag them deeper into the abyss. "Mom, I hear something." Emily's voice cracked with fear, eyes wide in the dark. "It sounds like Clara." Laura concentrated, straining to hear through the torrent of laughter. Suddenly, the voices shifted. It was Clara's voice, clearer and more insistent. "Help me!" The sensation of wrongness wrapped around Laura like a vice. With trembling hands, she turned another page. A photograph, this time a group of children with a circling darkness above their heads, a gathering storm that twisted the festivity into terror. Clara stood at the front, but her smile was crooked, a riddle that twisted her s. "Mom, please." Emily cried, tugging at Laura's sleeve. The shadows were clawing at them now, eager fingers closing in. "I don't want to be here anymore." "Hold on, Em." As Laura leafed through more pages, a name caught her eye scrawled madly in the margins: The Gathering. The laughter turned to screams, cries of children long lost echoed in the attic, reverberating off the walls. Each scream was a thread, pulling at the very fabric of their sanity, winding tighter and tighter. Realization hit Laura like a punch to the gut. Could the gathering be the reason Clara had vanished? In a flurry, she shoved the book back into the chest and slammed the lid shut, cutting the screams off mid-echo. "Emily, we have to go. Now." Just as they turned to the door, the air thickened, the shadows coalescing into a figure. Clara's double emerged, its eyes glimmering with an evil hunger, the cheeriness of childhood twisted into a nightmare. "You can't leave without me." "No." Laura screamed, grabbing Emily's hand tightly. "We will find her. I promise." But the girl lunged, reaching for them, a smile stretched across her face that filled the room with ice. They dashed toward the door, heart pounding wildly in their chests. As they reached for the doorknob, the thing cried, "Forever isn't long enough." The door held fast, unyielding against their frantic push. Laura gritted her teeth, fear coursing through her like ice water. "Mom! What do we do?" With a primal scream that echoed through the rafters, Laura slammed her shoulder against the door. It budged, just enough to slip through, dragging Emily behind her. But as they stumbled back into the hallway, they heard a faint, mischievous giggle floating in the air, chilling them to their cores. It echoed behind them, lingering like a dark promise. "Don't forget. I will always be waiting." What had they awakened? What more did the attic hide, and would they ever escape its grasp? Laura clenched her fists, determination igniting even in the glare of dread. They had to keep moving, but what would happen next? The answers loomed ahead, terrifying and uncertain. The light in the hallway flickered, and Laura whispered softly to Emily, "Hold on tight." What waited just beyond the threshold of their next step? Were they stepping deeper into a nightmare or finally escaping the terror? They stumbled into the narrow hallway, breaths ragged, the feeling of Clara's twisted mirage still hanging in the air like a foul odor. The walls pulsated with shadows, echoing the laughter that clawed at their sanity. Laura tightened her grip on Emily's hand, as if their bond could shield them from the horror that lingered just out of sight. "Mom, what if she finds us?" Emily's voice trembled, a thin, wavering thread that stretched across the vast ocean of fear crashing around them. "She won't," Laura replied fiercely, even though doubt gnawed at her heart. "We need to get away from here." They moved cautiously down the hallway, every creak of the old floorboards amplifying their dread. The atmosphere felt thick, as if the very house were holding its breath, waiting for their next move. Sweat dripped down Laura's back, pooling against the fabric of her shirt. They reached the staircase, the wooden banister slick under Emily's fingertips. Laura paused, the chatter of the gathering storm still echoing in her ears. That name, the Gathering. Memories of her daughter's laughter from years ago echoed back at her, now warped and lost to darkness. She couldn't shake the feeling that they needed to find out more about it, even while every instinct screamed to escape. "Where do we go?" Emily pleaded, her face pale, mixing fear with confusion. "Down to the living room," Laura said, trying to sound authoritative, though her heart sank at the thought. "We can think there." Together, they crept down the stairs, the haunting silence amplifying the sound of their footsteps. The living room waited, a yawning abyss shrouded in shadows, where familiar objects appeared foreign. The furniture seemed to take on sinister shapes, looming menacingly as they entered. As they stepped inside, an old rocking chair began to sway, despite the absence of any breeze. Laura glanced at Emily, who stood frozen in place. "It's just an old chair," Laura whispered unconvincingly. The darkness shifted, and then they heard a soft, delicate voice slipping through the silence like a serpent. "Mommy? Are you home? I miss you." Chills raced down Laura's spine. The voice was Clara's, sweet and innocent, but underneath that sweetness lay a serrated edge. "Clara?" she called out, a desperate hope igniting within her. The rocking chair screeched to a halt. "Mommy, come play with me." The voice lilted, teasing, echoing off the walls. "No, Clara." Emily's small voice shot through the air, raw and urgent. "You're not Clara." The silence fell again, wrapping around them like a cold shroud. Laura's heart hammered in her chest. "We can't listen to her, Em. We need to find a way out." But before they could make it toward the door, the shadows began to twist, coiling around them like vipers. Laura felt the air thicken, and the whispers grew louder, now a cacophony of voices, some pleading, some laughing, all demanding attention. "Come back, come back." They echoed, a tragic symphony of unfathomable sorrow. In that moment, a cold breath brushed against Laura's neck. "You can't leave," the voice hissed. It was Clara's face, twisted in a grin that sent bile rising in Laura's throat. "No!" Laura screamed, pulling Emily close, her pulse pounding like a war drum. The room spun, shadows swirling into shapes that resembled the children from the photographs, their eyes full of malignant mirth. "Stay with us forever," they chanted, their voices a chorus of despair. Panic surged within Laura, a primal instinct bubbling to the surface. Grabbing Emily's hand, she turned and sprinted toward the door. But the shadows reached out, grappling at their ankles, desperate to pull them back into the depths. "Mom, help!" Emily shrieked. Laura squeezed her eyes shut, gathered every ounce of strength, and yanked the door open. They burst through, falling into the front yard, the night air slapping at their faces like a welcome embrace. But the laughter followed them, echoing, haunting. "We'll never escape." The world around them grew still, the house looming like a beast, hungry for its prey. As the giggles faded into the night, Laura felt the weight of despair settle upon her shoulders. They had escaped the attic and the living room, but darkness persisted. What now? Emily's voice quivered, glancing back at the house. Laura closed her eyes for a moment, mentally sifting through the memories of Clara, fastened to the image she had seen in the cursed scrapbook, The Gathering. Why had Clara called to them? What power did she hold over this realm? "Next," Laura said, determination stiffening her resolve, "we find out what the Gathering really is." In the darkness of the night, a gust of wind rushed past, carrying the scent of decay and distant secrets. They had only begun to scrape the surface of this nightmare. What horrors awaited them in their quest for the truth? What price would they have to pay to sever the connection to a lost soul? With a heavy dread settling over her, Laura turned towards the back of the house, where she could see the faint silhouette of a shed lurking in the shadows. The roof sagged, the door hung crookedly, seemingly inviting them. Emily's grip tightened around her fingers, communicating her fear without words. "Let us check there," Laura said, though her heart pounded in protest. "Maybe there is something inside that can help us." "Are you sure?" Emily whispered. "What if Clara's in there?" "I know it's dangerous, but we need to understand what we're dealing with," Laura replied, forcing an unwavering tone. "The more we know, the better we can protect ourselves." They approached the shed cautiously. Each step felt like crossing into a graveyard, where every shadow held its breath, watching. As they reached the door, Laura pushed it open, a shudder running down her spine as it creaked, the sound echoing in the stillness. The darkness inside was thick, suffocating, a tangible wall pressing in on them. Using her phone's light, Laura peered inside. Cobwebs draped everywhere, and rusted tools were scattered like abandoned relics. But in the far corner, something glimmered. "What is that, Mom?" Emily's voice quivered, edging closer. "I don't know, stay close," Laura urged, stepping inside, her eyes fixated on the object. It was an old, tarnished mirror, its edges decorated with intricate designs that seemed almost alive. The surface, however, was marred by a thick layer of dust. "Maybe it's just a mirror," Emily suggested hopefully, but Laura felt a wave of unease wash over her. Something about it felt wrong, as if it contained secrets too horrific to share. "Let us clean it off," she said, reaching for a dusty cloth that hung nearby. As the cloth swept across the surface, a sensation prickled at the back of Laura's mind. An echo of Clara's laughter floated back in time, mingled with the whispers from within the house. A jolt coursed through her as a cold breeze cut through the shed, brushing her skin with an icy touch. Suddenly, the mirror changed. The dust fell away to reveal a cloudy, swirling image. Faces began to form within its depths, those of children laughing and playing. Each face was twisted in joy, yet a sinister flicker lurked behind their eyes, a glint of something dark. "Mom," Emily's voice trembled, pulling away from the mirror. "I don't like this. I feel sick." Before Laura could respond, the laughter intensified, filling the shed, reverberating against the walls. The children in the mirror began to reach out, their hands pressing against the glass, desperate and pleading. One face seemed familiar. It was Clara, a small child, torn between innocent joy and haunting despair. "You can't break the bond, Mommy." Clara's voice burst forth, sweet yet chilling, mingling with the laughter. "You have to join us. The gathering wants you." With a sudden gasp, Laura staggered backward, colliding with Emily. The mirror rippled like water, and in the chaos, she glimpsed herself, distorted and twisted, pulled into the darkness. "Run! Now!" Laura screamed, signaling Emily toward the door, adrenaline firing through her veins. They bolted into the night, hearts racing, leaving the laughter echoing behind them. Outside, the air felt different, electric. The moonlight hung like a judge, illuminating the path ahead but casting sinister shadows at their backs. "What was that?" Emily asked, panting heavily, fear palpable in her eyes. "I don't know," Laura confessed, desperately trying to maintain a brave face. "But whatever it is, it wants us, and we need to find a way to stop it." As they turned to speak, the ground beneath them trembled, a low whispering rising from the earth itself. Roots extended from the ground, creeping toward them like fingers yearning to claim their prey. The night felt alive, pulsing with malice. "We have to keep moving," Laura commanded, already running, the shadows stretching and bending around them in pursuit. "Where do we go?" Emily yelled, fear spilling over. "I don't know. Just away from here." But the low whispers became a chant, encircling them, a nightmare chorus beckoning them to return. And then a shape moved in the darkness, forming from the very shadows. It loomed behind them, a gnarled figure with eyes that glowed eerily, reflecting a hunger that made Laura's skin crawl. Your daughter is part of the gathering. You cannot escape. With terror whirling inside them, they raced into the unknown, their fate teetering on the edge of a knife. What was the gathering? And could they break the curse before it consumed them both? The shadows danced around them, alive and hungry. Laura could feel them reaching, clawing at her back, and the whispers had grown louder, a maddening symphony of despair. Each step felt heavier than the last, weighed down by dread and the realization that they could be lost forever. Mom! Emily's voice cut through the chaos, straining with fear. I can't run anymore. Laura's heart raced. She grabbed Emily's hand, squeezing tightly. Keep going. We can't stop. The words burst from her as they dashed down the overgrown path, the moonlight poorly illuminating their frantic escape. Every rustle in the underbrush made Laura jump, every gust of wind sent her heart racing like a runaway train. Behind them, the gnarled figure loomed closer, a dark shadow that flickered in the moonlight. She could feel its eyes boring into her, a searing presence that threatened to seep into her very soul. Suddenly, Emily stumbled, her foot catching on a twisted vine. Laura jerked back, panic shooting through her. Get up. I've got you. She tugged Emily upright, eyes darting toward the lurking danger. They drew closer to the edge of the woods, where a clearing opened wide. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. There. Laura pointed toward an old barn silhouetted against the night sky. We can hide in there. They raced toward the barn, its tall doors hanging ajar, creaking ominously with each step. Laura pushed through, pulling Emily along. Inside, the centuries-old scent of hay and mildew enveloped them, a stark contrast to the dread outside. Is it safe? Emily whispered, trembling, her eyes darting nervously around the dark space. I don't know, Laura replied, scanning the dim interior. Flickering shadows danced across the walls, and the creaks of age echoed like whispers. But we have to find somewhere to hide. As they huddled behind a stack of rotting hay bales, the ground below continued to tremble. What kind of monster was chasing them? Something unexplainable, something born from nightmares. Laura pulled Emily close, her own heart hammering like a war drum. We need a plan, something, anything. She felt the weight of their situation crash down around her. Suddenly, the barn door creaked loudly, swinging slowly open. Laura's breath hitched in her throat. Stay quiet, she hissed, her hand clamping tightly around Emily's mouth as the figure outside stepped in. It was tall and gaunt, wearing the darkness like a second skin. The glowing eyes narrowed, scanning the barn. Laura could feel Emily trembling against her, and she squeezed her hand tighter, trying to keep the panic at bay. You can't hide from the gathering, the voice echoed, low and haunting. You're meant for us. The figure stepped forward and Laura caught a glimpse of its face, a grotesque mask of hollowed cheeks and a wide grin that split its face unnaturally. Emily gasped, a sound so abrupt Laura had no time to muffle it. Come to me, the figure hissed, its voice a serpentine whisper. In a heartbeat, the shadows exploded to life. Run! Laura's voice sliced through the tension like glass. They burst from their hiding spot, sprinting once more, the barn giving way to a nightmare as the shadows lunged after them, shrieking with fury. They dashed for the field beyond the barn, the darkness swallowing the last vestige of safety behind them. But the field stretched endlessly, the horizon blurring into a void. Mom, where do we go? Emily cried, small and lost, her voice cracking under the weight of fear. Laura's mind raced. It felt like they were caught in some grotesque game, with rules they didn't understand. We need to find the road. Head toward the lights. She shouted, spotting a faint glow in the distance, an illusion of safety. But as they dashed forward, the ground beneath them shimmered strangely, and Laura felt something pull at her roots, vines. It enveloped her feet, tightening like a noose. Mom, please. Emily screamed. I can't. The roots surged, dragging Laura back. She fought, her heart pounding, but the grip was overpowering. Join the gathering, Laura. Join us. With an anguished scream, she flung herself forward, managing to break free, but not without cost. Emily's hand slipped from her grasp, the distance stretching like an abyss. Emily! Laura cried, spinning around in a panic. And then she saw them, figures rising from the shadows, ethereal children, calling for her daughter. We just want to play. Come with us. Desperation gripped Laura. The darkness hungered for them both. Would she be able to save Emily before the fear became reality? The echoes of laughter swirled around her, growing louder as the shadows moved closer. Mommy! Emily's faint voice echoed from the darkness, fear and trust woven into a single word. The chilling question pulled at Laura's heart: could she break the curse before it consumed her child, or would she join the gathering, forever lost in the nightmares that stirred within the shadows? The chilling grip of darkness tightened around Laura as she fought, her breath hitching sharply in her throat. The shadows that had once felt distant now surrounded her, their whispers a haunting melody that threatened to drown out her thoughts. The figures of children emerged from the gloom, their eyes wide and pleading, faces twisted into masks of loss, a testament to the town's dark history. Join us! They chorused, their voices filling the air with hollow promises. Laura's heart raced, each beat a reminder of the struggle for Emily. No! She shouted defiantly, the remnants of rage igniting within her. The need to protect her daughter coursed through her veins. She could not give in to despair, she had to rally against the shadows, to break free from the bonds of fear that threatened to ensnare them both. Emily! She screamed again, voice raw with panic. Each syllable pierced the chaotic laughter spiraling around her like a tornado. She pushed forward, desperately scanning for her daughter. Behind her, tendrils of darkness seemed to coil and sway, as if to cripple her resolve. Suddenly, another figure stepped forward from the shadows: Clara, a ghostly visage wearing the guise of innocence. Mommy, why do you fight? She pleaded, staring at Laura with hopeless eyes. You know you belong to us. Laura felt a sharp pain in her chest, but her resolve held firm. No. You are not Clara. She shouted, her voice thick with anger and sorrow. You're a reflection of the pain this town has created. I refuse to join you. I will save my daughter. The air crackled with energy, as if her words struck a nerve. For a fleeting moment, the figures recoiled, whispering hushes of disbelief. The gathering demands a sacrifice. The shadows hissed, their tone low and threatening. But Laura felt something shift within her, a flicker of strength igniting as memories of laughter, joy, and love drowned out the haunting chill in the air. With sudden clarity, she remembered the scrapbook, the truth hidden in each scream. The gathering is a lie. She cried, a fierceness welling in her voice. You are not powerful. You're nothing but memories twisted into fear. I will not let my daughter join you. In that instant, she felt a surge of energy course through her, pooling at her fingertips, warm and bright. The shadows writhed, confused by her defiance. You must choose. They shrieked, voices rising in chaotic harmony. Join us or lose everything. Thunder rumbled above, and with it, Laura's heart emboldened. She turned, scrambling through the darkness toward the faint glow in the distance, the promise of freedom beckoning her like a lighthouse amidst a storm. Emily! She gasped, calling for her child, desperation weaving through her voice. I'm coming for you. But then horror struck. She could hear the malicious laughter distorted through the shadows. She's ours. The darkness echoed, taunting her. No. She wouldn't allow it. In that moment, Laura's resolve crystallized with clarity. Emily, listen to me. Fight them. Remember who you are. Remember us. In that moment, she felt a connection spark anew, a tether of love bolstering her resolve. She charged through the chaotic shadows, determined to reclaim her daughter, embodying the very love she shared with Emily. As she pushed through, Laura willed away the whispers, her own voice reframing their memory. Clara, you are lost, but you don't own her. You are a child of this town's darkness, but Emily is light. The shadows churned, haunting features melting momentarily before dark shrieks echoed through the air. She must join. They screeched in rage. But Laura refused to buckle. She has a life outside of you, a life filled with love. Love is stronger than fear. Through the swirling darkness, she caught sight of Emily, a glimpse of hope among the despair. The child stood against the shadows, fighting, eyes glistening against the encroaching evil. Mom! Help me! Emily cried, her voice fragile, yet courageous. I'm here. Laura yelled, bursting through the residual shadows. She reached for her daughter, their hands connecting. Time stopped. The moment hung in the air, the darkness recoiling slightly as their bond glowed with fierce intensity. Together! Emily shouted, pulling with all her might. They stood in unison, love suffusing through them, illuminating the shadows. No! Don't do it! The figures screamed, and the room convulsed, the walls trembling with their fury. But lightning surged at their fingertips, a blinding light cutting through the hallowed shadows, flooding the space with warmth and clarity. We refuse to fear you! Laura shouted. You will not take us! The shadows howled, writhing, as the light expanded. Laura felt weight lifting from her chest, the spectral figures dissolving into the encompassing brightness. Each twisted face of pain and sorrow faded, revealing the histories once locked within. The laughter became triumphant, joyful as the layers of curse and memory crumbled. The light enveloped them completely, lifting them high. With one last surge, Laura and Emily were propelled forward, free from the grip of fear, unraveling the shadows that had sought to ensnare them. When the blinding brightness faded, they found themselves on the front porch of their home, dawn breaking over Maplewood, washing the world in gold. The silence of the night felt far, echoing dreams of fear that no longer haunted the air. We did it! Emily exclaimed, giggling, joy bursting from her. We're free! Laura pulled her daughter into a tight embrace, tears of relief spilling down her cheeks. Yes, sweetheart. We're free! The dawn light warmed their faces, the chilling past receding with the night. Maplewood stood illuminated, a hint of fresh beginnings mingling with cherished memories. They defaced the darkness together, uncovered the town's secrets, and emerged whole. As they stepped inside, a serene weight settled in the air, shadows all but forgotten, hope radiating around them. They had conquered the past and claimed their future. And outside, laughter echoed in the breeze, a true resonance of joy this time, welcoming and warm. Remember, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm that brings these tales to life. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel.